So you want to own a horse ranch. Buy the land, fill it with horses, live the dream. Here is the strange part. A horse itself is almost worthless now. You can get one for free, and the country is flooded with animals nobody can afford to keep. Yet owning that same free horse is one of the most expensive things a person can do. A single horse can cost you tens of thousands of dollars a year, every year, just to stay alive. By the end of this video you will know exactly how both of those can be true. What the land and the animals actually cost, why the only reliable way to make money is to never sell a horse at all, and why even the greatest horse ranch in America quietly lost money on its horses. Start with the land, because a horse ranch is really a land deal wearing a saddle. A horse needs pasture, roughly 2 acres each to graze, so a real ranch means real acreage, and land is by far your biggest purchase. Say you want to run 20 horses. That is 40 acres of grazing before a single fence post goes in, and depending on where you sit, that ground alone runs from a few $1,000s an acre in the rural Midwest to well past $50,000 near any city. Then the horses, and this is where the dream gets cheap. A green, barely trained horse can run $2,500 or less, and rescue groups practically beg people to take sound animals off their hands for nothing. Free horses are everywhere, given away by owners who cannot afford them. Only at the top does the price climb. A trained, well-bred riding horse runs $10,000 to $20,000, and elite competition bloodlines reach into the millions. But most horses on most ranches are the cheap part. Then the infrastructure, and here the money comes back with a vengeance. A barn, stalls, safe fencing across every acre, water lines, and an arena if you want to train or teach. Then the tack, $1,000 to $3,000 a horse, with a good saddle alone running $1,500 to $7,000. So there are tiers. First, the backyard owner with a couple of horses at home. Then the boarding barn, housing other people's horses for a monthly fee. Then, at the top, the breeding or show operation, chasing bloodlines and ribbons. Whatever tier you pick, remember the strange rule of this business. The animal is the cheapest thing you will buy. Buy the ranch, and here is what actually comes with it. You inherit a bill that never stops. Because with horses, the purchase price is the cheapest part by a mile. Keeping one horse costs somewhere between $8,600 and $26,000 a year, and the single biggest line is hay. A 1,000-pound horse eats 15 to 20 pounds of it a day, every day, running $50 to $130 a month per animal, more when drought sends hay prices climbing. Then the farrier, every 6 to 8 weeks, $50 to $250 a visit, because a horse's feet never stop growing. Then the vet, $300 to $1,500 a year for routine care, until the day a colic surgery lands and costs you $5,000 to $10,000 in a single night. Then bedding, insurance, worming, and dental floats. None of it optional, all of it recurring, none of it earning you a cent. It piles up whether the horse works a single day that year or not, and you inherit time. A horse lives 25 to 30 years, and it eats every one of them, working or not. Over a lifetime, one horse can cost $300,000 to over $900,000. You are not buying an asset. You are signing a 30-year lease on a bill. A horse ranch makes money in layers, and the reliable ones are not the ones you would guess. Here they are. Layer 1, the base, boarding. You house other people's horses for a monthly fee. Pasture board at $150 to $400, full care at $400 to $1,200, and premium show barns from $1,400 to over $4,000. Think of it as self-storage for animals, a steady monthly check. Layer 2, where the real profit hides. Lessons and training. Riding lessons run $200 to $1,000 a month. Professional training rides $500 to $1,500. This is selling a skill and an hour of your time, not a stall, and the margins beat boarding every time. A single good trainer with a full book can out-earn a barn full of boarders. Layer 3, the lottery. Breeding. Stud fees run from a few $100s to hundreds of thousands for an elite stallion, but most foals never earn back what they cost to raise. This is the gamble almost everyone loses. Layer 4, the land at work. Selling hay, hosting shows, trail rides, and events. And underneath it all, the ground itself, quietly gaining value while the horses eat. Here is the fact that breaks every new ranch owner's math. Boarding looks like a gold mine, and it is not. Listen to that again. Picture 30 horses in your barn at $600 a month. That is $18,000 coming in every month. Sounds like a fortune. It is not, because feed, bedding, and above all labor eat almost all of it. Cleaning stalls, feeding twice a day, turnout, blanketing, holding for the vet, that is the single largest cost a barn carries, and it never lets up. Payroll alone can swallow half of every board check before you have bought a single bale of hay. Most barns make razor-thin margins on board and only really profit on the add-ons, the lessons, and the training. One barn owner charged $950 a month, worked 14-hour days, and still bled money until she raised her rate to over $1,400. This industry even has a name for it: the passion tax. You love horses so much, you will run at a loss just to stay in the game. The board keeps the lights on. The lessons pay you. Turn the page to what leaves the account, and it is a long, relentless list. First, always, bought by the ton if you are smart. One bad drought if you are not. Then labor, the biggest cost of any real barn, because horses need hands on them every single day. Then bedding by the truckload, farrier bills, and routine vet care, plus the emergency that erases a whole year of profit in one night. Then insurance, fencing that horses destroy for sport, water, and property taxes on all that land. Then hauling away the manure, because 40 horses produce tons of it a week, and someone has to be paid to move it. And then the cost nobody markets. Call it the retiree. An animal that can no longer be ridden or bred still eats 15 pounds of hay a day for another decade, out of loyalty and law. A boarding barn can carry a dozen of these at once, all cost, no income. You do not get to sell your losses in this business. You feed them until the end. Here is the trap, and it is baked into the whole thing. A horse is cheap to buy and ruinous to keep. The boarding barely clears a profit, and the breeding is a money pit. So where does the return actually live? Underneath your boots. Follow it. Most horse ranches are asset-rich and cash-poor. Your land quietly appreciates, while the animals quietly drain the bank account. The real asset was never the horses. It was the ground they stand on. Strip away the land value, and a huge share of horse ranches lose money on the animals, year after year, and keep going anyway. Why keep going? The passion tax. People do not buy horse ranches to get rich. They buy the dream, and they pay for it every month. If the horses had to carry the business on their own, almost nobody in this world would own one. To see this rule at its grandest scale, go to South Texas, to the largest ranch in America. Its founder, Captain Richard King, was the son of an Irish immigrant who ran away as a stowaway at 11, learned the riverboats, and became a steamboat pilot. In 1853, he bought a Spanish land grant in the brutal Wild Horse Desert for $300. From that, he built the King Ranch, 825,000 acres, bigger than the state of Rhode Island. By his death in 1885, he was the wealthiest man in Texas, and his ranch tamed the wild Mustangs into the finest horses in the country, breeding the first registered American quarter horse and assault, the 1946 Triple Crown winner. That single ranch is the birthplace of the American quarter horse. And yet, here is the lesson that runs this whole business. Even there, the horses did not pay. That ranch's real fortune came from oil, and its famous horses cost the family around $1 million a year, a magnificent prestige hobby carried by the money underneath the ground. At the greatest horse operation in America, the horse still was not the business. Now watch why the horse became so cheap in the first place. Because it was not always this way. This is the collapse that rewired everything. 100 years ago, the horse was the engine of the world. America's horse population peaked at over 20 million animals around 1915, and roughly a third of all farmland in the country was used just to grow their feed. In 1870, half of America's energy came from horses. They plowed the fields, moved the cities, and carried the armies. Then the Model T and the farm tractor arrived, and in about one generation, the horse went from essential to obsolete. By the 1950s, the population had crashed to around 3 million, a fall of more than 80% in a single lifetime, and millions of animals were sold for slaughter. The horse lost its job, and that is the whole key to the modern business. A horse has almost no economic value now, because machines do its old work faster and cheaper. What is left is emotional, sport, recreation, companionship. Horses came back, nearly 7 million of them in America today, worth $74 billion to the economy, but as a hobby, never again as a tool. So who makes money on horses now? 4 habits separate them. 1. They run the boarding barn like an actual business. They know their true cost per horse to the dollar and charge for it, refusing to undercut themselves out of love. They beat the passion tax. 2. They earn on skill, not stalls. Lessons, training, and shows. The labor markup is where the profit lives, and they build the barn around it. 3. They respect the land. They treat the appreciating ground as the real asset, and they squeeze it. Hay, events, agritourism, the way the King Ranch leaned on oil. 4. They stay out of the breeding lottery unless they have elite bloodlines and money to lose. Underneath all of it, they understand the real business. You are not selling horses. You are selling land, lessons, and a dream, and the horse is only the reason people show up. So does owning a horse ranch work? Let's run both sides. The good case. The good case. You buy good land, run a full boarding barn, teach and train on top of it, and let the ground appreciate underneath you. Done right, on rising land, with the add-ons carrying the profit. A horse ranch can absolutely pay, and you get to live the life while it does. The hard case. Board margins are razor thin. Every animal is a decades-long bill of $8,600 to $26,000 a year. One colic surgery can erase your profit overnight. Breeding is a money pit, and the passion tax quietly bleeds owners who lead with their hearts. Lead with love instead of math, and this ranch will take everything you have. So here is the honest verdict. The horse is the cheapest thing on the ranch to buy, and the most expensive thing you will ever own. And the only dependable way to make money is to never build the business on selling horses at all. The horse was never the asset. The land was. The lessons were. The dream was. The horse is the cheapest thing you will ever buy and the most expensive thing you will ever keep, and it was never the thing that pays.